Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's call entitled The Trail to Becoming an Accredited Land Consultant. All lines have been placed on the listen-only mode. If you should require assistance throughout the conference, please press *0 on your telephone keypad to reach a live operator. At this time, it is my pleasure to turn the floor over to your host, Amanda Jenkins. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kat. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, The Trail to Becoming an Accredited Land Consultant. My name is Amanda Jenkins, and I'll be your host. I work on the education team here at the REALTORS Land Institute, and I'm really excited to be a part of the session today. RLI is a membership organization created for land experts and by land experts. We are dedicated to building knowledge, building relationships, and building business for our members who broker, lease, sell, develop, and manage our most precious resource, the land. Today's webinar will cover the following topics. Who is a REALTORS Land Institute member and an accredited land consultant? The ALC requirements and application process. And lastly, we'll cover how the ALC will help make you successful. I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers. They are all ALC designees. First, we will hear from Brandon Rogelio. Brandon is the 2017 National President of RLI and is based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Following Brandon, we'll have Flo Sayers speak from Pasco, Washington, and she serves as the chair of the ALC Designation Committee and reviews each ALC application we receive. And bringing our webinar to a close will be 2014 President and current RLI Treasurer, George Clift. George's office is in Amarillo, Texas. I do have a couple housekeeping items to cover today. Today's webinar will be available on demand after the live session and accessible through a link sent via email. We'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. We'll be answering questions after each presenter, so please feel free to send those along using the chat function, and we'll facilitate those. And lastly, we'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar recording with your social networks. Even as an audience member, sharing content not only keeps your social networks engaged with you as a professional, but helps you deliver value to your clients. Now, for those of you who just joined us, welcome to today's session, The Trail to Becoming an Accredited Land Consultant. Let's get started with Brandon Rogelio. Brandon is the owner-broker of Rogelio Real Estate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and is the 2017 National President of the REALTORS Land Institute. Brandon began practicing real estate as a profession while studying economics at the Southeastern Louisiana University. In the spring of 2009, he earned the Elite ALC designation and is currently the only realtor in Louisiana to hold both the esteemed ALC and the CCIN designation. All right, Brandon, let's get started.
Thank you, Amanda, and good afternoon, everybody. Like Amanda said, the REALTORS Land Institute is a membership-driven organization. We have a tremendous staff in Chicago, but our membership is very much like a family, very involved, and keeps the staff up to date on what topics, what things are important to us and our business day in and day out. The REALTORS Land Institute is an affiliate of the National Association of Realtors, which is one of the largest trade organizations in the world. While we are, I would say, a small, tight-knit, very involved group, having the support of the National Association of Realtors is a tremendous benefit and a great asset to us in many topics that we'll go over and cover today. RLI is the REALTORS Land Institute. The designation that we confer is the Accredited Land Consultant. The Accredited Land Consultant designation is earned by those people who have taken all of the required coursework and can also show that they have the experience requirements and deserve to hold that designation. our coursework is, the majority of our courses are developed through colleges, Rice University, Texas A&M, and they're taught by land professionals or attorneys in the exchange business through our 1031 and tax implications of real estate courses. But they are taught by practitioners. They're taught by people who do what we do day in and day out. The experience requirements Flo will go over the experience requirements later in this call in more detail. But Amanda, do you want to move?
Yep.
Slide forward.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our membership. Who is an RLI member? Who can benefit from becoming an RLI member? Our members are mostly made up of brokers who work in the land business, agents who work in the land business. We have a large contingent of members that are in the forestry business, who are agricultural, both brokers and farm managers. We have a lot of auctioneers and appraisers, bankers who operate primarily in land lending, and then we also have attorneys who work in land use and property rights, and then providing exchange services. Our membership currently is just under 1,300 members in the United States and Canada. 506 of those hold the Accredited Land Consultant designation.
Next slide.
Next slide, please.
All right.
So we have land specialists as members that, again, work on exclusively on ag land, exclusively on timber. We have some that specialize in selling ranch property, recreational land, urban land. We have people that deal with vineyards. We have people that deal with orchards. And the greatest thing I'll say about this organization is that network of people. I do not deal with agricultural property day in and day out, but I know very well a lot of people who do. And they have always opened a door to me. They've always been willing to provide knowledge, information, accept referrals, and it's become a great network of people who I can refer deals back and forth to. My primary business as far as land goes, again, based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is transitional. I deal with land that, we're trying to, the first step is always a highest and best use analysis, and then trying to figure out if it's previously residential but should now be commercial, previously a small home on 40 acres that should now be developed into a subdivision. Whatever the use may be, that's my typical property type. And again, I have what this organization provides me is a network of people with other specialties in other areas around the country that I have access to, that I can lean on and that are glad to provide assistance and those things. You can move to the next slide, Amanda.
All right.
Some of the benefits of the Realtors Land Institute, one is our eProperties list service. We can send, it's another listing platform that puts all of our listings in front of, obviously, a great deal of people. But we also send those in e-blast to other members. It's another great listing platform. We're all looking for as many ways as possible to get our properties out there. Our Find a Land Consultant search is one that is probably my favorite. I'm able to use that a great deal if I have clients that have properties in other areas, or if I have clients that I'm consulting with that have a different type of property than I'm normally dealing with day in and day out. We do an annual land market survey that we partner with NAR's research team on. That is just a great resource for our members and really all those that get involved in participating in that survey. We have an award-winning magazine, the Terra Firma, that provides not only membership information, but up-to-date, timely information on topics that we're all dealing with. One of my passions with being involved with the Realtors Land Institute is government advocacy. It's another tremendous benefit of being involved with the National Association of Realtors and falling under that umbrella. Land use and private property rights are very important and very important, and one of the things that our entire country was founded on. There are constant regulations that are coming out, whether it be Waters of the U.S., tax reform, very timely this year, and all of these things are, all of these topics, all of these issues are things that we both have the support of the National Association of Realtors, legislative and marketing team, but we're also called upon to guide them on what's important. Make sure they're aware of what's important on a ground level to our clients and to ourselves day in and day out. We provide a member marketing kit with all the information, all the details that are needed to market yourself as an accredited land consultant, to make sure that your clients and others are aware that the accredited land consultant is the best in the land business, most knowledgeable, access to the most up-to-date information. We have a strong local chapter involvement. Those chapters are growing significantly right now. We now have someone on staff in Chicago that is a chapter liaison. And like I said, the chapters overall are growing very quickly, and the involvement at the local level is what pushes our success at a national level. Being a member of the Realtors Land Institute also gets you a discount on Land University courses and webinars. Our LANDU Education. There are a lot of designations inferred. There are a lot of institutes, societies, and councils that fall under the umbrella of the National Association of Realtors. A lot of them have very good education. I would tell you, if you're looking to pick between any of those, you need to pick your passion. My passion is land. Our education deals with land. How does ranch land differ from cropland? How do soil types affect land use? What does the USDA work with landowners on? What are the impacts of water rights related to government regulations? And I can tell you in Louisiana, water rights to me is waters of the U.S., wetlands issues. Where out west, it's who owns the water and how does that impact the valuation of the property and the use of the property moving forward. Our LANDU Education also offers no-travel online courses, classroom courses, webinars, white papers, blog posts, teleconferences, and of course, tariff public. Government advocacy is something I talked about a little bit before. RLI is committed to represent and increase the exposure for the issues that matter the most. And those may differ depending on where you are in the country, but from just a property ownership standpoint, they're important to all of us everywhere. Waters of the U.S., 1031 like-kind exchange, endangered species, using drones for commercial purposes. Our local chapters, as I mentioned earlier, we have 18 state chapters, provide local networking opportunities. One of the people on this call is actually at a chapter meeting in Colorado right now. You'll be hearing from him a little later. Our local leadership opportunities, our chapters provide courses that can be taken in class, and they also offer marketing sessions for listing. You run into a lot of people in those marketing sessions that are dealing with the same property types or the same types of investors as you are, and there are a lot of deals to be done in those particular cases. Our annual conference is a National Land Conference. It'll be coming up in late March in Charlotte, North Carolina this year. It's a one-of-a-kind experience. There are over 200 land professionals, all property types, a lot of different people dealing with a lot of different things. We all come together, so you find a lot of common things to talk about, but you also find people that are looking to refer deals in the type of property that you deal with. Or I may be looking for someone that's representing ag investors that can help me with properties that I don't deal with day in and day out. Always talking about whatever the hottest topics are at the time. The most important thing that I would tell you about National Land Conference, the most important thing I would tell you about getting involved with the Realtors Land Institute is the networking. It all comes back to the deals. It all comes back to the friendships, and anything that you're being a member of an organization provides a lot of benefits. Being involved in an organization is where you really see the benefit, where you can capitalize on those benefits. And the Realtors Land Institute has been a great organization for me to be involved in. I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Brandon. This is Amanda again. Folks, if you want to type your questions in that chat section, and I will pose those to Brandon to answer, and I can help answer them too. Our first one we have is from Denise Moore-Contreras, and she asks, Brandon, straight from the hip question, is RLI advisable to new commercial realtors as they're navigating the CCIM, CRE, or CRU, given all the fees?
One more time, Amanda.
Is RLI advisable to new commercial realtors as they're navigating CCIM, CRE, and CRU, given all the fees that are needed? So do you want to talk a little bit about, yeah?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, the one thing I would say about that is no matter what type of property you're dealing with, under all is the land. Land is, there are factors of every deal that have to do with land. I'll tell you the different thing with a lot of commercial properties is if you're dealing with a retail center or an apartment complex, most of the complex land issues have been handled, whether it be environmental issues, wetlands rights, fill mitigation, but those are all still factors. Land is, land and the land that any of those, asset classes are sitting on is still, whether you're talking about the location of it or just the issues that are involved with it, are still some of the most important things in any of those transactions. And I'll tell you that I'm a CCIM as well. The other benefit I would tell you about that I think Flo will be talking about a little bit later is our Fast Track program. that if you already hold any of those designations, there are some, certainly don't want to call them shortcuts, but we do recognize the benefit of their education, and we do give you credit for some of it.
Thanks, Brandon. If we don't have any other questions for Brandon, we have one more. This is from Melissa Lee. I'm halfway through my CCIM and have a goal completing that next year and my ALC this year. How do you convey your expertise of CCIM and ALC to your clients?
I will tell you, and I will also let the other people on this call answer that question. I've been in this business for a while, and I do far less marketing than I should. I have a lot of repeat customers and clients, and I think they recognize the value in those things primarily from the services that have been provided. So I'm, as far as advertising and making people recognize the benefit of me holding those two designations, quite honestly, I'm not very good at it.
Thank you. We have an additional question from Beth Myers. Beth, if you don't mind, I think George Clift is going to answer a lot of what you have about networking ways with other RLI and ALC members and about joining chapters. So we'll hold off till we get to George's section to answer that question. All right. We'll move on now. Brandon, thank you again for your presentation. Up next is the ALC Designation Committee Chair, Flo Sayer. Flo is the managing and designated broker for Farmers National Company in the Pasco, Washington office. She has been a real estate broker since 1996 and a managing broker since 2010. Sayer attained her ALC designation in 2003 and is one of only 7 ALC designees in Washington and the only one of 2 practicing in Eastern Washington. Flo, can you tell our attendees how they can earn the ALC?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm going to try and move this a little quickly because of the short we've had in the beginning. First of all, our preamble to our Realtor code is under all is the land. There's 3 mandatory courses that are required. There's 104 hours, Land University course hours required. There's also a resume required demonstrating at least 2 years of experience in the business. You have a volume level to obtain in your land sales, and that volume level is bound within a 5-year period. You can certainly take your courses in advance, but your volume level has to stay within a 5-year period. You must pass a comprehensive exam, and you will have at least 2 letters of recommendation. One should certainly be provided by an ALC that you have used as a mentor. And then, of course, you submit your portfolio to the committee for review. Those are the basics of it. We'll go into this just a little more in detail. You do have membership requirements. It's required that you maintain a membership within RLI during your duration to maintain your ALC once it's obtained. That currently is $445 a year. You also are NAR members. There's different ways to be an NAR member. You must be an NAR member to be approved for an ALC, and you can either be a full member, which you're a realtor in one of your local associations and have gone through that, or you can be an affiliate member, institute affiliate member, because many of these are onesie-twosies, mom-and-pop shops in the small rural communities and such that may not have an association or a local chapter or so forth to be a part of. There's a great number of member benefits, and as Brendan spoke about earlier, of some of the things. The education requirements in your 104 hours that you must complete, 56 of those hours are required courses. There's the Land 101, which is the comprehensive study of land. It's not just walk out on a piece of dirt. You need to understand the basics of what's under that dirt, over that dirt, around that dirt, how it's used, the highest and best use, a number of those different things based upon your regulations and the environment and a number of other things out there. You have the land investment analysis, a very comprehensive course that can determine to you how you can use that land, what's the best use, highest and best use, and so forth. And then, of course, as was referred, there's a tax requirement, 1034 tax deferred exchanges, or the implications of a tax exchange. Then there are 48 elected hours. You can choose from any of a number of, if I'm not mistaken, there's about 20 different RLI courses. Those first 3 are the mandatories, and then you can choose from the others. You can also take a course on a computer hybrid or an online with online delivery. You can attend a chapter course, an in-person butts-in-the-seat course, and I will be honest with you, that is my preferred method of taking any courses. You get the benefit of speaking and understanding what others that are in the classroom have gone through, their experience, and so forth. Then you can attend the LANDU Week in June of every year. That moves around the countryside. At that point, gives you an opportunity for a number of different courses to be handled at one time. And, of course, one that's not in your slide is if you attend the National Land Conference, you can write a white paper which qualifies for one of your electives. As Brandon referred to, we have the Fast Track program. The Fast Track to the ALC is available to real estate professionals who already hold certain designations. Of course, the CCIM is the one that we see the most. There's SIOR, there's a CRE, AFM, and Association of Farm Managers, the ARA, RPRA, MAI is appraisals, AAC, auctioneers, CAI, SR, and WI, which, Amanda, I don't know those 2 designations myself. And those who either hold a master's or a bachelor's with from a university with a major in real estate or a program related specifically to land will also be able to fast-track the designation. Now, fast-track candidates must successfully complete the following 56 land courses. The 3, as we talked about, the 3 mandatories, the Land 101, the Land Investment Analysis, and the Tax Deferred Exchanges. Those are the mandatories no matter how you come into the property or come into the institute. We do have volume requirements. You can be an agent, a broker, a consultant, development person, or an investor. Any of those are going to qualify in your volume requirements. There's a minimum of 5 closed transactions totaling at least $10 million within your 5-year period. Or you have another opportunity of 25 separate land transactions, of which no more than 80% can involve residential lot sales. There is a number of pieces that we see from time to time come through in applications. Your land must account for at least 51% of the sale. So, for example, if you have rural ranchettes, 20 acres, 40-acre ranchettes that maybe it's an equestrian development, and you have $500,000 sales or $500,000 houses on those properties, and it's $600,000 for the transaction, the house doesn't, that property does not qualify because the land itself is not at least 51% of the sale. So that's just kind of a clarification for some, because we do see that from time to time come through. Your transactions can can only go back 5 years. So you have your 5-year window in which your transaction must apply. If you've been working on something and you don't quite get there and it rolls over into 6 years, anything in that first year will automatically fall off and be disqualified. If you have dual representation, you can count that as that sale as a double amount. Now, representation is not necessary. We're not referring to that as agency. Representation is the value that you brought to the transaction. If represented a seller, for example, and a buyer came to you and you did the deal for both sides, that qualifies you as two sides of the transaction. Now, there's other ways to apply. You can be an appraiser. You can be an auctioneer. You can be a broker manager covering a large office who deals in land transactions. You could be a farm and forestry manager. You can do non-transactional land professional tiers. This might be bankers, farm managers, timber managers, people who do not handle the sale, but they manage the land. And AAPL, the Certified Professional Landman, is not something I'm real familiar with, but it certainly is likely out there, and it has qualified. There are additional ALC requirements that you have here. Besides being a member of RLI, you must have 2 years of experience in land or real estate before you can apply. You must pass an ALC comprehensive exam, a final exam. And when you get through your courses and you get down to think you're ready for that exam, there is a pre-test package available to you. You must hold a current real estate license in your state. You must have 2 letters of recommendation, one from a current ALC and one from a local or state board or RLI chapter. Now, I highly recommend that you find an ALC, someone who is already an ALC, and use them as your mentor if that's something you want to go through. Find someone in your area. That's where if you're just a member of RLI, you have access to those individuals and find out who is in your area. And additionally, you must have a portfolio. You submit your portfolio online to the RLI at realtors.org. That's the organization that RLI Realtors Land Institute. You send one email with 8 separate documents in it. Or for an additional charge, a $25 charge, if you feel committed to hard copy documents and not that familiar with or comfortable with e-transfer, you can submit a hard copy with an additional $25. All your documents have to be arranged in a 3-ring binder, organized by the tabs as provided by the application. No page protectors, no double-sided documents, no staples, no legal size paper. Everything must be where it can be handled immediately through into a copier scanner, because those are then sent out to the committee for review. Now, one thing I will tell you, it is more comprehensive now, but it is by far easier to attain than when I took mine. When I got my ALC, we actually sat before a board of our peers and were grilled and groomed with questions that we might not be real comfortable with. So it was like sitting before a bar. This is I'm going to go through a short preview of what's in your 8 tabs that are required. The first tab is your applicant information, which includes your resume, information form, and then like everything else, there is a code of conduct, and we adhere to the ALC code of conduct, much like the NAR's code of conduct. We have our own within that mirrors that. The second tab is your experience in spreadsheet. That will take in all of your properties and so forth. It tells you what your transaction was, your buyer. It's basically as a summary of what we're going to look at in depth as we go through your transactions. Tab 3, that's your knowledge requirement form. And it includes a copy of your course certificate. Every time you take an RLI course, an ALC course, and pass it with a 70% or better, you get a certificate of completion for that course. And it's a frameable piece of thing you can put on your office wall and so forth. If you're a fast-track applicant, you provide a copy of the qualifying designation documentation or transcript from your college or university where you've taken your coursework. So we do see from time to time, college transcripts come through. On your tab 4 will be a copy of your current real estate license if you're a licensee. Tab 5 is a copy of the email received after you've completed your online ALC exam. Of course, like I said before, you have to have a 70% or better to pass. If you don't pass, you have the opportunity to take it again. And then you email everything to Amanda Jenkins, who is our moderator today, and so that you can register for the exam. She's going to pre-screen, or at least our group in the Chicago office is going to pre-screen. We are in the process, or they're in the process in national of transitioning our newest employee, Bill Stanton, to step into Amanda's shoes for mentoring the ALC organization. Tab 6, you've got your 2 letters of recommendation, as we talked about. One is from an ALC, an accredited land consultant, and or preferably your mentor who is an ALC. You'll have one from your local or state board confirming that you are a member in good standing and have no violations filed against you. All applicants are encouraged to build relationships with an ALC. Like I said, find one to use as a mentor, and that mentoring, if you don't have one, you can, and you're a member of RLI, you can search out someone in your area. If the applicant or an institute affiliate member, in lieu of a letter from a state and local board, you may then submit a letter from an appropriate accrediting body or commission confirming that you are a member in good standing of that accrediting organization. This might include letters or official documents from the State Real Estate Commission, Chambers of Commerce, your notable business organizations, and so forth. Tab 7. This is where it's interesting. Tab 7 is where you provide an education essay in a minimum of 500 words. Talk about how did the LANDU courses, the knowledge you gained, help you with the transaction, or if you had it, one of the transactions you're referring to was before you had taken the course, what you might have done differently had you taken that course, what you learned in the course, how it did or would have helped you. Your essay must explain the number of things. How was your land education courses used in your transactions? How did it help you? Provide specific examples. For example, my use of the mapping course helped me to navigate through a piece of dirt that I wouldn't have been able to see where things were had I not been able to know how the navigation systems work through Google Earth and so forth. That's a quick example. Your ALC skills and tools, how did they, the ALC skills and the tools that you applied to complete your transactions. If your transaction was completed prior to your attending classes, retrospectively, like I said before, what would you have done differently, or how might you have reviewed that transaction in a different method? Tab 8, this is your volume requirement. First of all, there's a narrative form describing your participation in each transaction. Now, as you go through, once you get started in this, all of these pieces that are highlighted in blue in these will be down links that you can go into to get more information. So that's just a description there. So you have your transaction narrative guideline there. The narratives need to explain a number of things. What was your role in the transaction? Were you a buyer's rep, a seller's rep, a dual agent, buyer's agent on a seller represented property, so forth? What were the buyers and sellers' objectives in the transaction? What happened during that transaction? Did you run into challenges? How did you solve them? And what was the final outcome? Some of them don't turn out to be quite so good sometimes. And then, of course, it's a 300-word minimum on each one of those transactions. Then for each transaction, you must provide a copy of the settlement statement, verifying payment of the real estate fee, and those are cross-checked to make sure that how that's handled. And one supporting document, it might be the MLS closing sheet, it might be any other thing that would be appropriate to the transaction. And for each transaction, you provide a copy of a commission statement, a signed statement by your broker in charge, or some other appropriate documentation telling how you got paid and how much, so that it matches up with what you discussed in the beginning. You have substantiation documents to be included, and this is just some of them, may not necessarily be all of them. You have a signed closing statement, commission statements, contracts and leases, approved documents or permits, any site and development plans, recorded and signed deeds, statement of value or copies of your appraisal, copies of the consultant reports or commentaries on consulting assignments that you've done, letters from your employers indicating the principal involvement in the transaction, whether it's development, appraisal, or related services, and the description of management duties if it's in a management situation. So in a review, once you've submitted your application, it's reviewed by an RLI staff member. That will be your first point of contact. Once it's been reviewed, it's submitted to the designation committee, and that is a committee of about 10 people that review them. Each person has a different perspective in how they go through it. Then you are approved. If it passes through the committee, you're approved by the Realtors Land Institute, the board of directors. That could take several for approval. These are being reviewed quarterly at the minimum, and then once you get to that step, you get the call from whoever is the chair and maybe several others that says, "Congratulations, you've now entered the ranks of the best in the business." So with that, I would open it up for any questions someone might have.
Thank you, Flo. This is Amanda again, and I'm just going to go through a few of these. We are getting really close on our time. So Joe Hiss wants to know, he has no local chapters in his area and no other ALCs to meet. How can he get a letter of recommendation? Flo, do you have a recommendation for him or some ideas?
Yes. First of all, if a person attends a land conference, for example, you're going to meet a number of them who will very closely be happy to mentor you through. Depending on where you are, you may have your letter of recommendation. You may have met with one of your instructors and then use that instructor through the coursework to help mentor you through, to bounce questions off and so forth. Otherwise, someone who has been followed you through your business transactions over your career, that knows exactly what kind of a character that you are as a real estate broker.
Thank you, Flo. Joe, I'll respond to your other question about the farm and forestry managers via email. The last question that we'll pose to you, Flo, is many of the tabs are brokerage-centric. Is there any published alternatives for meeting tab requirements for those not following the brokerage path?
Okay. Rephrase that for me because I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so a lot of the tabs, the requirements we have, they're very focused towards agents or brokers. Maybe he's asking about somebody who wants to apply under the forestry tab or forestry tier or farm management tier. What are your suggestions for that?
First of all, contact the Chicago office, the Realtor Sign Institute office, and they have the fast track or the other side sub-guidelines. They are specific to those industries. It may be, for example, maybe you're a farm manager. You're going to have to account for the size and the volume and so forth of the properties that you manage.
All right. Well, thank you, Flo. We appreciate you presenting for us today. Our next presenter is going to be George Clift. And now, guys, we will be running just a couple minutes over, so if you have to hop off, we'll send out the recording. But let's hear from George now. George is a past president and current treasurer of RLI. He's been involved in agriculture for over 40 years and began his real estate brokerage business in Amarillo, Texas in 1997. Clift Land Brokers is now the largest firm and ranch real estate firm in Texas Panhandle with 21 real estate brokers and sales associates. George is licensed in Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Colorado, and he's a past president of the Texas RLI. In 2016, he received RLI's most prestigious honor, the 2015 Land Realtor of America Award. George, how has the ALC made you so successful?
Well, I do not want to be, I guess, thanks for the opportunity. Don't be intimidated by the application process. The real important thing to understand is this designation is not an easy-to-get designation, but we really do have competent people that are accredited land consultants. And per discussions that Brandon and Flo have both had, hopefully we're getting to see that. So why should I become an accredited land consultant and work for that designation? And in one simple word, that is because it makes me money. But let me go through some formal slides and we'll kind of dive into that. You know, the real reason George Clift wanted my ALC designation because I believe in having confidence in what I'm talking to buyers and sellers about, and our crew and our home office are very competent, knowledgeable land brokers, and the relationship that you make with other brokers helps you be confident, and to be an exclusive part of that group is very critical in our part of the world, in our region. You know, another thing that earning the ALC designation does, it gives you insight from others. Flo mentioned there's many ways to take your education courses. I like to do all mine in person because I wanted to meet the other brokers there in the room, and there wasn't a class I didn't go to that I didn't pick up a tool that I could take home with me and put to work in our market. The other and probably most critical thing, I'm actually in Denver at the Colorado chapter meeting right now. This morning they stood up and talked about deals that these brokers had worked together, and there's actually a camaraderie with the brokers here, and they enjoy sharing commissions because they don't know every buyer and every seller. And so the referral network is extremely large and beneficial as you think about making money in this business. You know, the first thing I do is I look for referrals when it's outside my field of expertise. In our business, we understand cows and we understand plows. But if it gets into development property, if it gets into some forestry property, that's not what I know. And I quickly learned that you've got to be competent when you deal with other brokers, when you deal with other clients, and you better have a team of brokers that can help you with those kind of transactions. So the referral network is huge across our industry, and I've worked with brokers from Georgia to Arizona, and so forth. And you will develop a relationship with land professionals. This is the 10th year I've attended this meeting in Denver, and look forward to meeting with these guys that's here just to understand their market, what they're doing different marketing-wise, where the buyers are coming from. And so I've visited with several ALCs, and I've got a few quotes for you. And these are people that are in business today that you could call if you're in their part of the world. You can call these folks, and these folks, as well as probably all 500 accredited land consultants, would share similar kind of comments. The first, let me go forward here. So what do the members say as you try to evaluate spending all this money, getting all the education, the annual dues, but Christine Ashbury is a good friend of mine in North Carolina, and you can read her quote, and it just says, I continue to create productive business relationships. And we talked about that. I mean, and that's what the ALC accreditation has provided for Christine, and she's a good broker in North Carolina on the coast. Another member, Bart Miller, who was here at the meeting with us. The ALC designation is a trusted symbol of experience and education, and as a land consultant, he talks about that with his clients and peers. And the knowledge and confidence that he earns through the ALC designation has been very important for him and his staff and his brokerage firm here that's headquartered in the Denver area. Another under ALC says the education I received was empowering through the Land Institute, and it could take a person 10 to 15 years to learn what they have learned in this curriculum. And I think as you get into this process, the flexibility of courses and the depth of the knowledge that's learned while you're in that course is about like a college degree. Rick Ward's a friend of mine in Oklahoma. In 2015, he received his ALC designation, and he attributes his success as being the #1 RE/MAX agent in Oklahoma to the designation, because it's got him a lot of business in knowing how to sell property. Benton Gibson's a very successful business person in Mississippi. And he's also an appraiser and a good friend of mine. As a real estate appraiser, the ability to network other ALCs is invaluable. Information and the contacts that they can supply is very, very important when you start trying to determine the property's value. And obviously ALCs have experience and they understand land values. You know, to really maximize the benefit of an accredited land consultant, in my opinion, you've got to develop a marketing plan to make people in your market aware of that, whether it's through your email, through publications, whether it's press releases. But the people in my market know that we're a member of the Land Institute. I have every quarter or every 6 months, I send an education letter out to lenders and tell them that that's all provided through the Realtors Land Institute, and the value of my designation helps me have access to that kind of information. Again, that's marketing to a specific group of people, but we do know the bankers that's in our market, and when we have issues come up and need to validate a seller or a buyer, these local bankers have been very valuable for our business. Whoop. The second point is participate in additional educational meetings. I've attended several webinars. I always attend the land conference. I go to a lot of state meetings, chapter meetings, because I want to know what's current and pertinent. And we work in a big circle across 6 different states in our company, and obviously rules change from state to state, and markets are different from state to state. So we are proactive about staying involved with an education in meetings. I'd certainly recommend that if you're working toward your accredited land consultant designation, if you really want to vet out the quality of people that have their designation, the quality of people in this institute, you need to try to attend the National Land Conference. It is the place to be, and I'd certainly highly recommend that. Obviously, I've been a part of starting 3 other state chapters, continue to be members of those chapters. I try to attend at least one meeting a year, but that's where you develop camaraderie amongst the people in your state as you talk about things that are pertinent to your market, marketing tools, new regulations, and again, it's part of being the knowledge base for your clients. And so I find out there's a lot of things learned. I personally learned a lot of things as attending all these state chapters that I try to attend. And I would tell you that through my activity and participation in the Realtors Land Institute and earning my designation, my dues have been paid for my lifetime. It is very unusual not to have a phone call a week from an ALC or RLI member from across the country. Obviously, as the past president of the National Land Institute, a lot of people call and want to know who the good brokers are in Texas. And my referral list is our membership list, as Brandon talked about on finding other land consultants. So that's the way we do business. I'd highly recommend you investigate the land consultant designation. I'd encourage you to be a member of RLI, be proactive, and be very happy to visit with any of you individually if needed. Luke Worrell is a good young man that's up in Illinois, and he's a very, very sharp young man and great business savvy. But his comment is where else would you gain the knowledge from 3 days with these kind of courses? And he's a big proponent, and he is always at the land conference because he wants to be a better farm manager, broker, or a land consultant in his market, and his volume and his respect in his community certainly would dictate that. So Luke's a good young man up in Illinois. What questions might I answer? I'd be happy to answer any questions, Amanda.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for George? George, I have a question. How can, when they attend the land conference or these chapter meetings, what's the best way to kind of meet other people and break that ice that sometimes people are nervous about?
Well, realtors typically are pretty aggressive about meeting other people, and we've all got name badges on, and you'll sit around the room and you'll figure out who asks questions or who you meet. At the land conference, we have a lot of booths, a lot of industry people there. You just got to be someone who's comfortable about sticking your hand out and shaking their hand and saying, I live in somewhere and I sell these kind of properties. Tell me what you do. And right quickly, if it's someone that's been in the organization very long and you're selling equestrian facilities, there are some people in the room that would have have more knowledge about how to sell equestrian facilities and those kinds of things. So the diversity within our group is great, you won't see Cliff Land Brokers selling an equestrian facility because that's not what our wheelhouse is. But certainly we've got people that can help us that we refer properties like that to. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, George. And could you quickly, we have one more, and I know we're getting really close on time or over time, but Joe Hiss wanted to know, what are some tips for starting a chapter?
Well, the first thing is I would tell you is identify 8 to 10 land brokers in your market or in your state or in your part of the state, depending on which state it is. Y'all need to sit down and say, maybe there's an opportunity here for us to get together on a regular basis, and whether it's quarterly, whether it's semi-annually, or whether it's annually. You've got to find some local people that want to learn. The leadership team today that Brandon heads up would be happy to come and meet with you, as well as, I've been to Albuquerque. We've tried to set up a chapter in Albuquerque 2 or 3 times. Haven't had any success in doing that. I gathered up 8 or 10 people in Kansas that I knew that were good land brokers, and set them down and said, guys, if y'all want to get together and learn about our business and invite in guest speakers that help us understand specific issues. Today, there's many referrals between that group, but like starting anything, it's going to take a handful of people a commitment for 2 to 3 years to get the ball rolling, invite other land brokers into the chapter meeting. You know, what we found is it's very fine sponsors. You know, farm credit banks, title companies, are advertising medias are very easy. Been very approachable for me to go to help us sponsor these meetings, sponsor special guests or speakers, and so you know, one guy can't do it or one person can't do it, but if you've got 5 or 6 people that are interested in doing this, each of you is going to know another 4 to 6 people that would want to participate, and that's how you start a chapter and have it organized. And of course, there's a whole separate webinar that could be done on starting a chapter. But if you get online and look at my phone number, I'd be happy to visit with you about your state, and there's probably people in your state that I would know that we could get the ball rolling and help, along with the current leadership team, be happy to help you do that.
Wonderful. And Joe, our chapter specialist, Bill Stanton, will reach out to you with additional information for starting a chapter. Our last question I'll answer quickly. It's from Bobby Bennett, and he wants to find out, how do you know who is a member in your state? Bobby, on our website we have a Find a Land Consultant tool, and you can search there, and you can search by state, by name, by city. It's a really great tool that lists all of our members and our ALCs. George, thank you again for presenting for us. We appreciate it. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the webinar and would like to take the next steps to earn your ALC designation. To help you get started, we're going to waive the $75 administrative fee for all new members who join, and everyone who attended today will receive an additional discount for $25 off one National LANDU course. Now, these offers will only be good until January 31st, 2017, and the discount codes will be sent to you in an email from me, Amanda Jenkins. If you have any additional questions about the information you received today, you are welcome to contact an RLI staff member from the contact information on the screen, or you can reach out to George, Flo, and Brandon. They'd love to hear from you. Thank you all again, and we look forward to having you join and work towards ALC. Have a great day.
Thank you. This does conclude today's conference. We thank you for your participation. You may disconnect your lines at this time, and have a good day.